Today we're diving into 3 gut-wrenching betrayals that will make your heart ache and maybe even give you a sliver of hope. First, a seemingly harmless Snapchat message that turned a husband's world upside down. Then, a heartbreaking tale of a cancer patient whose fight was compounded by a lover's deceit. Finally, a story of a woman who turned a painful divorce into a powerful rebirth. These are raw, real experiences that remind us how fragile trust can be, and how resilient we can become when we choose to rise above the lies. I was swapping out the bedroom Dyson filter when I grabbed my wife's phone to check the time. A Snapchat alert popped up, flashing the words, "I'll bring the special toy." My breath caught, and the room seemed to grow colder with each syllable. The phrase felt like a secret code, a promise made to someone else, and a betrayal wrapped into one tiny notification. I stared at the silent fan, at the tiny screen, and felt the weight of that moment crush me. It was the first concrete proof that something hidden had been thriving right under our roof, and I knew my life would never be the same. We'd been married 17 years, child-free by choice, and built a life that revolved around open conversations and mutual respect. He worked long, demanding shifts in medicine, while I ran a legal consultancy from home, juggling clients and contracts. Weekends were our sanctuary, lazy mornings, coffee on the balcony, evenings spent on the couch debating philosophy, politics, and love. We trusted each other with every secret, believing that our bond could weather any storm, even the occasional stress of overtime and remote work. That deep, unshakable trust is what made the later discovery feel like a betrayal of every promise we ever whispered to each other. Over the past few months, I started noticing tiny, almost imperceptible changes. His phone would buzz at odd hours, and he'd glance at it nervously before putting it away. A new Snapchat profile appeared that I'd never seen, and he began hiding his location history behind a password. He mentioned a quarterly out-of-town meeting that conveniently aligned with my vacation days, and the Fans app required a login that he never questioned when I borrowed his phone. Each of these red flags felt like a domino falling, whispering that something was off, yet my mind kept telling me it was nothing, until that one message broke the illusion. I printed the screenshots, laid out the remote-controlled vibrator I'd found in her luggage, and confronted him with the evidence. He broke down, pleading that it was purely physical, that his love for me hadn't changed, and begging for a second chance. I realized I could not rebuild trust on a foundation of lies, so I hired a lawyer, filed for divorce, and even handed the proof to his coworker's wife to protect herself. Today, I'm focusing on my health, my home, and rebuilding my life piece by piece. The pain still lingers, but I've reclaimed my power, learned to trust my instincts, and I'm moving forward without looking back. From a silent app to a silent hospital room, the next betrayal cuts even deeper, intertwining love and illness. Stay with us as we explore how a life-threatening diagnosis can become entangled with a lover's deceit, and what it means to find courage when everything feels lost. I learned my husband had cheated while I lay in a chemotherapy chair, too weak to even hold my own hand. The news arrived from a friend, not from him, and it hit like a second diagnosis. My body was already fighting tumors. His betrayal felt like a poison added to an already lethal cocktail. The realization that his affair might have stripped away the optimism doctors said was crucial left me wondering if I could ever recover, emotionally or physically. It was a crushing blow that made the hospital walls feel even more confining. We married after a brief courtship, both hoping to create a safe haven after previous relationships had left us wary. When I was diagnosed with lung cancer a year ago, he promised to stay by my side through every treatment. He attended doctor appointments, held my hand during scans, and whispered encouragements during endless sessions. Our love felt like a lifeline, a shared battle against an invisible enemy. When the prognosis shifted from hopeful to terminal, I expected his devotion to deepen, not crumble, and the betrayal cut deeper than any chemotherapy side effect could. He started taking longer business trips, claiming they were conferences, but the dates never matched his schedule. After a certain hour, his calls went unanswered, and his emails grew cryptic, filled with vague references to projects. I found receipts for dinners I never attended, and his shirts still carried a lingering scent of a woman's perfume after he returned from work. Most painful was his sudden disinterest in my treatment updates, as if the fight was no longer his to share. Each ignored text felt like a silent confirmation that my trust was eroding, piece by piece. When I finally confronted him, he admitted the affair had begun months before my diagnosis. I chose not to pursue legal action. Instead, I focused on palliative care and the few months I have left. I wrote letters to my children, apologized for the pain I might cause, and let of anger. Though his betrayal scarred my final days, it also taught me the fragile value of honesty. I now rest knowing I faced both cancer and deceit with as much courage as I could muster, and I hope my story can help others find peace in their own storms. From heartbreak to empowerment, the final tale shows how a legal ending can become a fresh beginning. Stay tuned as we follow a woman who transforms a painful divorce into a journey of self-discovery and newfound strength. The court email pinged. My divorce was final. I stared at the screen, half laughing, half sobbing, as the weight of years dissolved into a single, official document. The default judgment meant my ex never even opened a reply. I poured a glass of champagne, toasted with the new partner who had helped me through the nightmare, and finally felt the tight knot in my chest loosen. The end of a marriage that once felt like betrayal became the start of my own rebirth, a chance to rewrite the narrative that had been written for me. We married in our mid-20s, believing love could survive anything. After a decade, his infidelity surfaced, shattering my sense of security. He chased an unstable obsession, leaving me to pick up the pieces of a life we'd built together. The divorce process turned into a drawn-out nightmare, filled with courtroom drama and emotional manipulation. Yet, throughout the turmoil, I learned to rely on my own resilience, finding support in friends and a new love that reminded me I deserved respect and honesty. Each day became a step toward reclaiming my identity. Late-night texts with a coworker, sudden trips that never matched his work schedule, and a growing habit of hiding his phone. He began to drink heavily, claiming it was to drown the pain, while I felt the sting of his secret meetings. I caught glimpses of his online activity on shared devices and noticed his emotional distance when we talked about our future. Each ignored apology and empty promise built a wall I eventually could no longer look through, and the cracks became too obvious to ignore. After the decree, I focused on rebuilding my life, therapy, fitness, and a career pivot that reignited my passions. Evenings are now spent with friends who celebrate my progress, and I'm learning to love myself without validation from a partner. The pain of betrayal still flickers, but it no longer defines me. I've reclaimed my narrative, turning a painful ending into a powerful new chapter where I set the standards for the love I will allow into my life. Every sunrise now feels like a promise of something brighter. Betrayal cuts deep, but each story shows that truth, even when brutal, can become a catalyst for strength. Keep moving forward, remember you deserve honesty, and never let anyone's deceit define your worth. What would you have done in their shoes? Drop your thoughts below, and let's support each other on the road to healing.